With roots seated deep in the rich history of Greek mythology, God of War deftly fuses puzzle-solving ability with robust combat and frenetic action, and a brutal yet absorbing tale of destruction and redemption.
God of War begins with Kratos, who has climbed to the top of the highest mountain in Athens in ancient Greece, and he has this line. He says, "Not even the gods of Olympus can save me now." And with that, he takes a step and he throws himself off the mountain, and right before he hits the ground, we flash back 3 weeks before, and that's really the game that you play.
When bringing God of War to life, the development team went back to their childhoods, where their passion for storytelling and Greek myths began.
Creative director Dave Jaffe came up to me and goes, "What do you think about Greek mythology?" I was immediately intrigued by it because there's a lot of monsters that everybody already knows who they are, and I wanted to play a game that I wanted to be able to rip Medusa's head off and turn people to stone, and I wanted to fight Cyclopses.
When they said, "Hey, we're thinking about Greek mythology for God of War," I was like, yeah, let's definitely do that. It's something that's been a passion of mine for a long time, and I know a lot of other random Greek mythology tidbits and elements that have proved pretty useful during the development process.
With such an incredible and revered history to draw from, the team was able to extrapolate their own unique anti-hero as timeless as anything Homer could have conjured up.
Kratos was a warrior in the Spartan army, and there was this one battle, and Kratos is there. He's about to just get killed by the barbarian king, and he calls out to Ares, the god of war, and says, "Make me this great warrior, save my men, save me, and my soul is yours." And Ares gives Kratos these blades that are attached to these chains, and he's now bound to these blades called the Blades of Chaos forever.
These chains are as menacing as the warrior wielding them, but they aren't the only way to effectively dispatch your enemies.
Initially, they were kind of in the air about where they wanted to go with the look of the weapons. They didn't want it to be too fluid and too nice and too dainty, so they wanted it to be more brutal and more aggressive, but it's really difficult when he's swinging things around and not feel like a very choreographed fight scene. So we kind of found that middle ground.
The combat system really comes to life when the player customizes their attack combos with a stunning variety of mythical weaponry.
You've got all kinds of really cool gadgets and weapons like the Medusa head, the Zeus thunderbolts. You can raise the dead from Hades to come up and fight by your side.
You know, you can dash, pop a guy up in the air, use the Medusa head, he falls down and shatters. You get extra points for that, so it's really giving the player a palette to work with and let them be the artist.
In its quest to appeal to slightly more mature gamers, God of War places a strategic emphasis on puzzles that require more thinking than most games of the action-adventure genre.
Most games today, the puzzle is pull the lever, the door opens, or find the key, put the red key in the red door, and it's just like, you've got to be kidding me. It's like, I was so excited to bring real puzzles back to this genre.
There are a lot of different ways to approach any given situation in God of War. You could be confronted with something that seems sort of insurmountable just by going in there and doing the combat, but if you think about it a little bit, there are resources made available to you in the level that'll allow you to get around that situation a little bit easier.
God of War is one of the most graphically impressive games ever created for the PlayStation 2, with stunning environments that are as vast as they are intricately detailed.
I'm always the guy that the engineers want to strangle because I try to absolutely push this engine to the max. In the opening level of the Hydra, we've got thousands of particles that are on screen. I wanted to have reflective surfaces that look like puddles where when the player walks through you can see his reflection. I wanted to have tons of geometry. I wanted to have wood splattering everywhere. I wanted to have 30 guys on screen. That's what we wanted to accomplish, something that was just visceral and massive.
All that kind of stuff is a programmer's nightmare, basically, because you have to kind of make sure that your engine runs as fast as it possibly can in every different scenario that the designers and artists have managed to create while building the game, and that's kind of a big challenge. So what we've done is just be very careful to make sure that all of our tools allow us to give good instruction to the artists and designers and how each of the different scenes in the game can be made to run as fast as they possibly can.
Plus you've got like all this fog in the background and one fog coming off of the water, particles spraying over the mast. We wanted the first level of God of War just to be something that, you know, it's going to make you want to play the rest of the game.
The producers know that the key to a great game is to engage the player at an emotional level, and God of War aims to do just that.
I think anytime you make a game, you set out to try to make emotion in the game. That when the player is playing the game, he feels emotion. And if it's gripping the controller tighter, if it's having to put it down and walk away because your heart's pounding, if it's just that you're having so much fun that you forget to go to sleep or you're late for your job because you're trying to solve a puzzle. I mean, that's what we wanted to create.
By utilizing the stories from our ancient past, God of War delivers the cutting-edge game of the future and what's sure to become a classic. But there's more to this game than meets the eye, and additional secrets will be revealed next month.
This is the game not only that I wanted to make 3 years ago, this is the game I've wanted since I was a 10-year-old kid, and I finally got to make it, and I'm so grateful, and I think players are going to be grateful too, because it's going to be cool.
The gods of Olympus have abandoned me.
Combining the legendary tales of our past with an enigmatic hero, visceral combat, and flawless cinematic animation, God of War emerges as a game destined to be as classic as the mythology upon which it's based.
When you first pick up the controller, you're instantly in the game, and it's very easy to understand how to play. But the more you explore and the more you start to learn the combat system, the deeper it becomes. It really rewards you for trying out different things, finding out what your style of how you want to finish the game or beat this particular enemy is.
To me, the system in God of War is much more organic. You can then go into this like lightning bolt super move, and the guy's just getting rocked completely, and sort of chaining all those things together is something that hasn't come out in any games yet, but I think we really nailed it in God of War.
In their quest to create some truly dynamic animation, the creative team found themselves experimenting with all sorts of innovative techniques to create the game's landmark visuals.
That's the feeling we want to achieve, is that the controller kind of just melts away and you're just taking part in what's happening on screen.
We work with a very talented group of animators. You know, you can't just describe something in words, you know, when you're talking about the way some of these moves should work. So you definitely get up and you act stuff out, and I've had more than one embarrassing situation where I've been in the middle of a meeting and I'll get up and have to demonstrate, oh, he'll be like this, and I end up on the floor and I'm laying all prone on the ground. It gets very physical.
I'd say my favorite sections are some of the hero animations, especially the blades, the fluidity we were able to achieve with blending so many different moves. We're able to achieve that through some of the coding and then some of the animation kind of working together as cohesively as we can. In certain games, it doesn't seem like much attention has been paid to it, but in this game, we put a lot of attention into that.
With God of War's visuals this complex, it's imperative that all the animations be tested repeatedly to meet the expectations of not just the gamers, but the producers themselves.
We fine-tune the game to the nth degree. A single combat move will often be worked on for a whole day by the combat designers. A tremendous amount of attention to detail is required to really get the emphasis right and make sure that the player is experiencing what you wanted them to experience.
With gameplay this epic, the creative team worked especially hard in giving the game a grandiose feel that would appease the very gods upon which it is based.
So we spent a lot of time working on a really good camera system that allows very kind of cinematic camera shots. You know, you can have a traveling camera follow the character along a corridor, and it can do anything that you could do in film to feel like it's raining. We spent a lot of time working out how to make a rain effect that was really convincing as a rain effect. You walk into a desert, we wanted to get a kind of a desert sandstorm feel.
In coming up with a way to match the game's legendary story with its visual style, two types of animation were fused together to immerse the player into the game.
Well, we've explored the idea of a new visual for what we call the cinematics, which is the in-game movies for this story. Images become 2D instead of the traditional 3D, but then they transition back to 3D and start moving around, and they transition back to 2D.
When you first see the camera just kind of zoom through these 2D plates, almost like you're moving through a photograph. Once the camera focuses on a character or a certain thing that's going on, that's when it just all of a sudden pops into 3D.
And the idea is that these are all memories of Kratos, they're all flashbacks, and it's told so it's instantly identifiable by the audience that Things are hazy, it's clear, you can tell what's going on, but it's that dreamlike feel that we wanted to get across, that these memories are forced on him. He doesn't want to remember, but they're forced on him.
Just as the tales of ancient Greece have resonated throughout time, God of War concludes with an ending that's sure to have gamers talking through the ages and possibly paving the way for stories into the future.
Kratos, before you reach Athens, there is a task you must complete.
God of War is our attempt to really elevate the action-adventure genre to the next level. We wanted to bring combat, exploration, navigation, puzzle solving, all of sort of the classic elements of the genre, but we wanted to bring those to players in a fresh way, in a way that they haven't really seen before. If we're successful, which I think we will be, we'll get to tell stories about Kratos for a long time.
You will need the power of the gods. Take this weapon, Kratos. Take this power and use it to defeat your enemies.
The gods sent me to destroy you.
Subscribe. Boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, ba-jack, boom, ba-jack, boom, boom, subscribe.